Hey, I'm live. No one here in the room yet. Waiting on everybody to join me. I don't know how to do like a premier thing to set it up to where it's waiting on stuff. So it's live as we go. So hey, got my first person in here. I don't know how to set up a previewed scheduled event to have it already opened up before I get here. So you know how it is. You just learn as you go. Who do I got in here? You're the first one. I'm gonna say hi. Hey Keith, how you doing, brother? Yeah, I'm learning something new here. I hope we get because I announced this a couple days ago that I was going to try this tonight. So I was just seeing if it was going to work. Um, let's see here. I'm not showing myself live. Yeah, I got to figure out how to set up a preview thing like all the rest of them do, to where it's already set up. So when it happens, um, you know, it is what it is. I'm trying to find myself here on the screen, but it's not finding it. Who else did I got in here? You guys are the first two. I didn't know how many people would show up tonight. I don't even know if I'm worth spending an hour or so on a Friday night in the chat with. But I just figure I'd give it a shot because I kind of like the live thing. I like talking to people. I like interacting a little bit instead of just me trying to make a video and then put it out there. So who else is in the room here? You guys want to sound off in the chat room, or so? What are you into tonight, Keith? Besides being in here, I mean, how did you? I was going to ask a lot of people if people showed up tonight. Uh, if you found out because of all the politics thing about me, or if you're into cars, like my car channel was originally the car channel on the other deal there. So, um, but hopefully we can have a good discussion. I actually went live yesterday on my car channel, and we was on there for 3 hours talking. So that was pretty cool. Uh, Anybody else want to say hi? I tell you what, I don't have a predetermined subject matter to talk about. I was hoping people. I know people always asking me questions about stuff about my town, and that's cool too. Uh, so we can talk about whatever. I've had an unusual day today. Uh, we had a pet pass away, so I had to take her to. My friend did actually. I didn't do it to get her cremated. So that's kind of been of a bummer kind of a day, a little bit. Oh, shoot, I'm already losing people. Am I that boring? Anybody else want to say something besides Keith? I mean, I went live last night on my other channel. We was pretty active. So saying a 3 hour chat. It was pretty cool. Had a good time. Anybody watch the Joe Rogan Experience today? Yeah, thanks, Keith. Yeah, it's you know how it is, and she was a Bo Mastiff, and she was a rescue dog. She was taken out of a home that they mistreated her. They bred her as a fighting dog, and when we first got her, we didn't know if we was gonna be able to keep her because she was hard to handle. She didn't trust nobody, and she was dangerous in a way. But we had her for 8 years. She was 13 years old. She just went to sleep and never woke up. Jason, how you doing? Doctor Salty, are you a salty cracker fan? I am. I am. And most people know who Salty Cracker is, but I'm a fan of his. I enjoy it. He's funny as heck. So, for those who are just joining, I just asking if anybody watched the Joe Rogan Experience today. I haven't had a chance myself. I was going to get your all's take on it and see how it went. I don't. Is it still going? No, I think it should be over with by now. Of course, if it was still going, you'd probably be watching that instead of being in here. I don't know. Depends how active you all are watching Joe Rogan. But I've been watching. I don't know about you guys, but I've been a little concerned on the news this week. Looks like they're trying to roll out all the greatest hits on the fabricated stories and things that Trump said over the years, uh, and they're getting ready for something which I'm afraid is going to be pretty horrific. So, I kind of was going to have a conversation, see who's all prepared for this, uh, if prepared at all. If not, maybe, good conversation tonight you might want to be after we're done. But, like I said, I wanted to go live. I didn't just want to sit here and just uh, do a whole bunch of talking points. I like interacting with the chat room. So, and I just wanted to see my chat room last night had some kind of like a severe delay on it, and I don't know what caused that. But you guys can probably answer my question and see if it's lagging tonight, because I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Nobody else wants to say nothing. Is my chat room working? Uh, Somebody give me a thumbs up. I mean, Jason and Keith got through. Nothing. Might have a problem here. Let's see. This is it working, guys? Because I'm not being able to find it myself on my phone. Oh, cool. Janice, thumbs up. Thought maybe I was talking to a wall. So, where's everybody from? Where you all located? I was talking the other night. Somebody out of Scotland. Yeah. Next thing I was going to ask, I got these cordless buds in. Do y'all hear me just fine? IMT. How I'm doing? It's been a weird day. I was just saying earlier, just a minute ago, we had a one of our pets pass away, and had to go get her cremated. We're in Atlanta, Florida. I lived in Florida for a couple of years. I was helping getting a Peterbilt dealership up and running. California. I worry about you guys in California. I mean, y'all have a dangerous government there, in my opinion. Oh, yeah, I got you. Yeah, Janice, you're not the same Janice that was in my chat room last night, was you? On the other screen? Ah, cool. Yeah, good deal. Yeah, I'm glad to see you come back. Apparently, I didn't bore you too bad last night. And of course, you remember we was on there. I was on there 3 hours. My butt got sore sitting in this chair for 3 hours. But I hate to. Whenever a good conversation's going, guys, I hate to call it off because I feel like as long as there's still something to be said and it's informative and educational and hell, if it's just a good time. Uh, I've had so many people uh, reach out to me in comments and stuff like that's been so good, and so I just wanted to start doing live things so I could actually, in my way, the best way we can, get to know each other, because you'll always have a mass amount of subscribers on my other channel, which is a lot of them. I know for sure it's going to go away because it's all for the political stuff. A few are staying for the car stuff, which I'm grateful for that because before all this politics started, I had like 200 subscribers, and I've had this channel, the other channel, for like 4 years. So I was worried about I wasn't doing interesting enough work on my vehicles. So we got 8 in here. That's not too bad. I think I don't know if you remember. I think Janice, we got up to like 18 last night, 18 or 20, and that wasn't even scheduled. So yeah, I got to figure out how to set a premiere thing up. I know when most people go live, they have their thumbnail up, and people can wait while they're waiting to go live. I don't even know how to do that. I just go live as I sit down and try to figure it out on the spot. But like my phone's not even working right, so I can't even because there's always a lag between the phone seems to be faster than the laptop when it comes to the. Well, Janice, you remember the lag in the chat last night? Is it any better today? Yeah, they were in and out last night. I think I had at one time. I think I had like 14 or 15, if I remember correctly. That's good. I don't know what happened to the one last night. Why there's such a delay. I think there's some kind of a adjustment in your chat that you can set before you go live. So this channel is a little different than my other channel. I kind of wanted to. I didn't want to steer too far into the political realm on my other channel because it was a car channel. But I also didn't want to just stick to politics on this one either. I just wanted to have a conversation, talk. Like I was just asking some people already in the chat room if they was able to watch the Joe Rogan experience because I haven't had a chance to see any of it. So I was kind of curious how that went because right now today it looks like in all the polls in the swing states, Donald Trump is ahead, which brings another subject up of what's going to happen after not necessarily November 5th, but by January 6th. Yeah, YouTube. I tell you what, when I went to go live here today, this is my second attempt tonight because the first time it come up with YouTube has an error, and I didn't know what to do with it because it was live, but it had no chat. So I because I was only on it like 25 seconds, so I backed out of it, and then I come right back in, and it seems like everything's working fine now. Northeast Washington. You're probably, if you're northeast, you're probably not down there where the aggressive part of the protesting goes on or not, or I could be wrong. I might have my geographical area screwed up. Um, I'm always curious where everybody's from and how their state is ran, and things, how their local government's working. I'm actually getting more and more into my local government here. I just did I fill out my thing today online for to become a precinct captain here in my area. Live in the mountains. Oh, that's awesome. That'd be cool. I tell you a story. When I was growing up, because we spent every summer that my family's from Kentucky, and when I was a kid, I thought it was weird. I hated the fact that you would the sun wouldn't come over one mountain because my family has a property that down deep in the holler between three mountains at the base of them. So you wouldn't see the sun till like 10:30 in the morning, and then by 7 o'clock it was on the other side of the other mountain. So you was always in the shadow of a mountain. And when I was young, I didn't like that too much. I kind of like open flat because I'm a car guy. I like to go super fast, and I like open. I like to be able to see for miles. But now that I've gotten older, I truly appreciate living in the mountains. Uh, I don't have that rambunctious kid kind of attitude in me anymore. It's kind of laid back and want to be relaxed. And mountain living would be good. So, what else you guys got going on today? It's been my weather here is good today. I don't know about y'all's. Y'all shy? Shoot, my chat was cooking last night. Really? See, what part of Ohio you live in, Deborah? Because I'm in Springfield. I haven't really. I guess I ain't been paying too much attention to the internet today because I've been dealing with the death of the pet. Southern, okay. Like Southern, like Cincinnati or Portsmouth or something like that. I don't want to get too narrowed down because it really ain't nobody's business, I guess. Uh, just the areas are good to know. Yeah, I tell you, she was a Bow Massive and she weighed 210 pounds, and it was an extremely big dog. I mean, the dog standing next to me could get her head up underneath my armpit. Poor area of Ohio. I think a good portion of Ohio is poor, to be honest with you. I mean, we like Clark County. It's one of the poorest counties in the state. So I feel you when it's just, and like, right, we're right next door to Montgomery County, which was the what is it they said, the worst fentanyl drug problem in the country is Montgomery County. Overdoses. That's what I was trying to say. More overdoses, and then we're kind of, since we're attached to it, they kind of bleeds over into us a little bit. But it's not as bad as it used to be. A lot of people think it's gotten worse, but I don't think it has. I think in a lot of areas in this town, it's gotten much better over the years. But don't get me wrong, we still have our problems. especially since this new problem has been pushed upon us. Gardens. Yeah, I tell you what, I think I touched on it last night a little bit on the other live. There's things that they're they're saying right out in the open, and they're doing it in kind of a covert way, but they're trying to get the mindset set up because you know how the mainstream media does it regurgitates the same message over and over that they want to get through to everybody, and they're just setting us up for a something they feel like they're going to be justified in the future. And I don't know if you guys feel that way or not, but since I think it was September 27th, the Department of Defense uh, revamped the memo for the first time in the history of the United States that they have authorized lethal force to go against U.S. citizens who want to have an uprising against the U.S. government, which I thought I'd never see that or even see anybody who would go through with it. I mean, these people are U.S. citizens too, and they're our neighbors, they're our brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles. 'Cause I just have a hard time believing that they would go through with it just because our idiotic people who are in charge tells them they have to because they don't like the outcome of the election. I don't know if any of you guys agree with that or not. Um, you know, Maybe I'm going too far down into a rabbit hole, but I'm seeing all the signs. I truly am. I don't know if you guys are seeing it or not, but I worry about that. Anyway, I was going to have a conversation with people interested. There's certain things, if you're not used to prepping, and it's kind of hard to prep at the last minute for certain things like this, there's certain things that every prepper must always have. And you need to think about these things. And I believe, honestly, you need to think about them very seriously here for the next few months at least. And, give me y'all's opinion in the chat. See if you're seeing something I'm not, or maybe you're not seeing something that I'm talking about. Yeah, MT. Uh, I think all of us, for the most part, see exactly what I'm talking about. The question is, how do we handle it? What do we do going forward? How far do you think they're going to go? And will the people that they're telling to do this against the American citizen are willing to do that? Uh, there's a lot of questions. It's unanswered, and you won't know until it happens. So you don't know till you know. Uh, I hope it don't happen, but the signs are there, and it's unfortunate. Water, food, and guns. Yeah, you need all those things, but the real question is everybody kind of knows what they have to have. They just sometimes don't realize how much of that they have to have. Because I'm always a firm believer that like non-perishable foods, uh, 3 to 6 months worth for however many members are in your family. It's that's a biggie. Bottled water, and this stuff, especially in today's environment, this stuff's expensive to buy at the last minute on the fly to have that much in reserve. Now, I have been collecting non-perishable foods for, well, I think I started in 2016. Uh, so I've got like skids of that stuff in my basement. So if you are local and we find ourselves with this shit hitting the fan, seek me out. I have probably more than we'll need if it doesn't go past 3 months to 6 months. Um, I believe in taking care of thy neighbor if I have it, but if it's something I can't afford to share, then you got to do what you got to do. But uh, like I said, I've been collecting for a long time. Well, as a matter of fact, we had to stop collecting because we had so much of it. And and it's one thing like that. And you got to remember also some things. Keep cash on hand. Like it. Don't keep it all in the bank. At least not right now. Uh, Even though we may be in a little bit of issue here in the near future, cash will still be something that people are wanting to use for trade. Yeah, Linda, something is going to snap. That's what I'm saying. I don't know about you guys, but I feel it in my bones. It's an eerie feeling when you hear them regurgitate all these old recycled lines that's already been debunked. But I think they're trying to convince the people who are loyal to them, who are brainwashed, that whatever they do to a Trump supporter after the election is going to be justified, and that they'll be able to get away with it. I don't know. Maybe I'm going too far with that, uh, but that's how I feel, you know, and also, uh, and it's hard. Like I said, if you ain't prepped already, it's hard to prep at the last minute. And a lot of people will tell you, have a generator, and that may be possible. You may need a generator. I'm not seeing society fall like that. I'm just seeing some unrest in the streets that's going to happen, to be honest with you. And then we may or may not have to. I don't, honestly, I cannot see the men and women of our military force or our police departments uh, taking some kind of directive like that from the Department of Defense and follow through with it when they know that they're not right. But you can't take that chance. So you got, and plus, I think we have to worry more about the civilian on the other side more than your authorities. Like I said, I could be wrong. I think on the simplest terms, I try to keep it real, but I also don't like going overboard with certain things. But in this situation here, as long as I don't think preparing for the worst is not that's not going overboard. So, but getting back to the generator thing, having a generator is just fine, but that goes along with like having guns. Guns are no good without ammo. Generators are no good without gas. So if you can afford it to have uh, several cans, 5-gallon cans of gas that will last you to use your generator for, it's what you can afford. Like I have enough to last 5 days. And you don't want to, you can't store gas for too long because it goes bad. So you have to use it in your lawnmowers and whatever, and then replace it. But have 5 to 8 cans of 5-gallon jugs. Depends on what kind of generator you're going to use. And it sounds silly to talk about this stuff, but it's kind of crazy. But it's not crazy. Like I said, so having a generator is one thing. Got to have the gas to keep it going. And if you're lucky enough and can afford it, people have like propane generators and diesel powered generators. So yeah, there you go. See, if you live up in the mountains, yeah, people out in the rural areas, they're used to stuff like that. Having like I have a friend that's got a generator. It powers his whole house with, I mean, everything. If the lights go out, it automatically kicks in, and he's got a 500-gallon tank of propane that powers it, so he's good for a while. You can't really do that in town. I live in town, so that's not possible to do. I don't have the property for it. But keep what you can, and anything's better than nothing. That's how I say it. Even if you have a small generator and it's only powerful enough to keep your refrigerator and freezer going or whatever and power a couple of lights, it's better than nothing. And maybe you can only afford enough keep enough gas around to maybe last 3 days instead of 5 or 6 or 7 days. Uh, but peaceful protest, really? The other side don't know how to do peaceful protest. We do. They don't. Last time I seen them do peaceful protest, the whole car lot was on fire. So, so, getting back to the prepping thing, or should I continue with this stuff? Are you guys interested in hearing what I do to prepare for stuff like this? A lot of this stuff you do also for bad weather. It's not just for the determining factors here about what we're talking about, but you know, if you don't want to hear about the rest of it, we'll just continue on with another subject. But I just thought it would be, educational for those who don't prep to kind of think about these things within the next couple of weeks. Let's see. Okay, I got you. Yeah, okay. Of course, mentioning firearms is kind of like you don't really have to mention fire. Everybody knows that's the first thing everybody says is have your firearms. But firearms, like I just said earlier, like a generator. A generator's no good without gas. A firearm's no good without ammo. And I don't know how much ammo to keep. I guess it just depends on what you think your area is like where you live. Now, me, let's just say I have a few thousand rounds. I don't have a large number of firearms uh, because you don't need a large number of firearms. I have a firearm for every occasion, and but I got ammo for all that too. So and that's just for personal protection because you never know what pops off. People who are kind of stupid in the head and get desperate, them's the people you got to worry about. And hopefully we don't have to worry about the authorities, and hopefully we ain't got to worry about none of this. I could be just talking crap and nothing will happen. But what do you think? Silence. Okay, we'll go on the rest. I got one more thing on that list. Let's say you don't have any of that stuff, but you've got family members somewhere else in the country that does. I know if you're a prepper, you know what a bug out bag is. And you should always have that ready in your closet to snatch up and go when needed. And that's when I say the cash comes in hand because, you know, if they was to do something silly like declare martial law, they could also uh, disable credit card machines. So, that, but people will still take cash. So, you know, that's just me saying, yeah, they run at the sight of a gun, but you're not dealing with looters here. If what happens that I'm talking about that might happen, they're not looters. They're looking to destroy you and the way of life that you're wanting to have in this country. Yeah, that's you're right, Linda. If it happens, it's going to go ugly real quick. The only thing is you got to be prepared to be ugly back. That's the thing. you know, don't start nothing, but don't let them be the ones that finish it either. So this is, I wasn't even planning on talking about this tonight. I was just planning on just hanging out. But after watching the last 3 days of, 4 days of hearing the same old, and they're even going, they're doubling, tripling down on the Hitler thing, and putting generals in place that will control the military to take out his political opponents, and which is downright stupid. But they're going to try their best. What is the 14th Amendment, sixth article, 14th Amendment? I think is what they're going to try to do to him, so they won't be able to declare him president January 6th. Uh, if I'm wrong on that 14th Amendment one, somebody let me know in chat, because I think that's what I remember, if I'm not mistaken. Because I don't make notes too much. I just try to do like two people having conversation somewhere. You don't pull out a whole bunch of facts to read off real quick. Although we can look them up together, because I always tell everybody, don't take my word for it. You can research it. If I can find it, Lord knows you guys can find it, because I'm not very computer literate. So, um, but you got to watch the internet too, because there's a lot of falseness out there. So that's why I like to see stuff from real sources, not somebody claiming something on the internet. But like the DOD memo on the 27th of September, that's not somebody spreading gossip. That's actually actual government piece of paper that got that article written out, where they changed it to do lethal force. Hi, BB. Xenia, Ohio. Yep. I drag raced at Kill Care many years. Glad to see you in here. So, does anybody have any more to add to what I was saying about that? Maybe like I said, that's what I do to keep prepared. I don't know if anybody else does the same thing, or if they even go one step or two steps further than I do. I know I wish I had. I got a bug out vehicle that is capable of, its 4-wheel drive. It can haul a decent amount of equipment. You've never you not are you probably not a car person then, BB, if you've never seen the drag races there. I tell you, I've got a few stories about drag racing there. I don't know if you guys want to hear car stuff or not, because that's pretty much my other channel. This year, I just wanted to keep going with the stuff that I've been talking about for the last month or so. People want to, I'm gonna try to do updates, but I'm gonna do some videos, and I'm gonna put them out on the other channel that I've partnered up with the other two gentlemen. We had our first live show on Wednesday this week, and anybody that didn't see that, uh, Georgia. I like Georgia. I think I told somebody was from Georgia last night in my chat room on the other channel. Georgia's a good state, and I think I mentioned last night, except for Atlanta. Atlanta's hard to get through. But oh, where was I? Oh, yeah, I'm gonna put together a couple more videos updating some stuff here in our town, and plus I'm gonna be doing I'm gonna try to do as best as I can in it. I hope it looks like a very coherent piece of work, a documentary of the migrant influx to Springfield, Ohio, and the lies and the truth. So, NASCAR. Yeah, I've me being a car guy, I round track raced back in the '90s, but I got in a pretty horrific crash. And it was even on a short track, but I got hit coming out turn four, and I my foot got stuck on the gas, and it drove me right into the inside wall, and I went up the wall and flipped three times in the air and come back down, and it messed my back up and messed my wrist up, messed one of my fingers up, and messed one of my ankles up. I knocked three wheels out of four wheels off my race car. And it took two records to get the car off the track. So I I did a little bit more round track racing after that, but it just got too hard to do. Got too expensive too. Hi Rosie, how you doing? Where you from? I've been asking people where they're from. I kind of I get interested in where everybody's from and what part of the country or world because I talked to a person from Scotland the other night. Yeah, I've never been to a Daytona race, but I've been to Atlanta, Bristol. I've been to out in Illinois to a race, but I round track race uh, all over Ohio, Indiana, and into Illinois, and it was all asphalt. I never did no dirt track racing. I don't really like dirt track too much, but that's car stuff. So this is my Friday night chat. Let's talk, people. Let's see what you want me to talk about because I can talk about all kinds of things. I mean, I'm a rambling idiot a lot of times. I like to talk for some reason. I don't know why. Let's go. Trying to think. I seen something today that disturbed me on the news. Trying to think what it is. It's going to drive me crazy. Some with Vivek Ramaswamy. I'll think about it before the end of the conversation goes. Um, I do want to say that if if what happens happens, I hope that we can get control of it enough to keep it from going too far past the point of no return. Um, but I could be wrong, and I don't want to be wrong, or I want to be wrong. I'm sorry, I don't want to be right. Uh, but believe it or not, that's kind of that thing's been on my mind for the last 3 days. It seems like I can't get it off my mind. It's like I'm stuck on that subject because I want everybody to be prepared. It's kind of like saying go vote, go vote, go vote. Well, yeah, be prepared, be prepared, be prepared. It's the same thing with the same energy. You got to do it. Hmm. Scam baiter. Oh, thank you. Yeah, he might not win. That's true. Um, but today's polling said that he's ahead in all the swing states. I mean, all of them. So that's pretty good because in the past, even when he's been a few points down, he's still uh, for whatever reason, because a lot of people, when they do that polling, I don't know about you guys, but I've been called uh, for those little question surveys they do for polling. Um, I don't really tell them much about me being a Trump supporter or nothing. So I think a lot of Trump supporters are like that. Uh, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know if you guys answer them correctly, but so we, in my opinion, if Trump is dead even or ahead, in my opinion, because if a lot of people do the same thing I do, he's way ahead. But you can't take your foot off the gas. You cannot do that. You got to keep rolling and not stop until we know that he's in office. Yeah, they can't get complacent. I think this year the Republican Party has taken nothing for granted, and they have really pushed that out there. Yeah, ever since that day where they fight, 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 that that put a little bit of fire under a lot of Republicans' asses, and you know he's risking his life to do this. He don't have to. I hate when they say that he's in it for himself, but compared to all the other politicians that are in office, this is the only man that's lost money being in office. All the rest of them come out way ahead by the time they're done. And I just mentioned this last night too. Uh, Good example is AOC. She was a bartender 5 years ago. Now she's worth $2.7 million. How's that happen? And she ain't as boisterous as she used to be. So the somebody with money got in there and told her to shut up and only mention the talking points that they want her to mention because that squad ain't as loud as they used to be. And there's a reason they they decided to accept that money and not rock the boat. I could be wrong on that. But I don't know if you guys agree with that or not. But I mean, it's it's pretty obvious when if you pay attention to how much they used to get. If there was a camera rolling, they were in front of that camera, just spouting all kinds of leftist wing stuff that's way out in left field, and now they don't. Yeah, baby, you gotta pray, but you got to rely on getting it done. Prayer's good, but action is what we need right now. And with both of those things together, uh, we should be successful. And honestly, I believe that we're going to be successful just for the simple fact that most of the Republican side is very determined people. And, a lot of times, and I'm not really the establishment Republican, even though I would consider myself Republican all my life. I really have a problem with the establishment. Uh, just because they have an R in front of their title doesn't mean that everything they say is correct and you must follow what they say. So cool. It's gonna be 42. That's good. My youngest daughter's 42. Matter of fact, my second oldest daughter's daughter, one of my grandchildren, she's getting married. I'm going to a wedding Sunday, so I gotta dress up. I gotta get out of my mechanic and clothes. Yeah, if I seem like I'm stalling, guys, I'm trying to read the chat. I apologize to having gaps in here and not saying nothing. But hey, we got 13 people in here. I mean, we can be pretty active with just 13 people. I know of a lot of places when you got a lot of people in a chat room, the chat goes by so fast. It's kind of hard to what's a good word I'm looking for, interact. And it's nice to have a ton of people in the chat room, or at least on a live session. But I really like having a group that's a size that I can interact with the chat room, and I just like having conversations instead of feel like I'm talking to myself in front of a camera. So, anybody? Oh, we lost one. No, must not have been the conversation we wanted to hear. Food, water, medical, clothing. Get out of debt. Yeah, buy what you need now. Yep. Well, and that's what I'm saying. It if you're if you're prepping already, which like I do, I prep already. Most of those things should already be handled. If not, you got some catching up to do, and do what you can do. I mean, within today's environment, it's like having 3 to 6 months worth of food. Nobody in writing, at least not me. I'm on a budget. I'm disabled and retired, so I couldn't afford to go out and buy 3 months worth of food and store it real quick. So that's why I've been storing it over the last, since 2016. I've been collecting. So it's nice to be already over that hump and have everything ready to go. Yep, got to vote. That's right, Rose. Vote. Be prepared for 4 weeks. 4 weeks is good. Um, like I said, when you do prepping, it's basically you're really prepping for like bad weather, and you usually don't need uh, a whole lot of stuff. 4 weeks is pretty good. I mean, and you can prep all you want in the situation of like the people down in North Carolina with the hurricane. All their prepping got washed away. So it's nice for like the rest of us who have extra to be able to take from our stock and give to them so they can get over that hump. You got to take care of your neighbor. You got to take care of yourself first, but take care of your neighbor if you can do it. That's what I was just saying when I first started this. I have stuff, food, and all that stuff. And so if somebody local is not prepped like I am, you know, reach out if this stuff ever goes bad here. And uh, I probably will be in a position to help you out. Yeah. Yeah, it's. Let me ask you a question there. Uh, I'll just call you House or Quilt. I'll just call you Quilt. House sounds bad. I don't know. Um, it seems like they're saying that it's like dead even there. It's like I think they said in some polling she's like only up by like 0.2% or something. It ain't even a large margin, uh, but it's almost like 50-50 in Georgia with a lot of the polling. But like I was saying earlier, when you're talking to the people does those surveys for polling, if you're like me, a Trump supporter, I don't tell them the truth. A lot of times I'm telling them I'm voting for the other side just to mess with their polling. So we'll see. There's a hopefully Georgia will go red again, but you know you got to get all your friends and neighbors. Got to get them to if they haven't already voted. You got to get them to the voting polls on November 5th. Give them rides. I've offered rides to people. So if people haven't voted around me, if they need a ride, I'm going to give them a ride to go vote. There you go, Rosie. Yeah, I mean, yeah. See, I live in Rosie. I live in town, so I have two refrigerators and a big deep freeze, and I also have a lot of canned meat and stuff like chicken and preservative pouches that'll last for super long time. Uh, so I try to when that stuff comes available, and all it don't taste the greatest. Let's be honest, but you usually can get it on sale super cheap, and you can season the crap out of anything to make it taste good enough in a pinch. Uh, Montgomery, Floyd, Hayek, Quinn, related to me. Yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, but that's the thing, with states. That's like California. Everybody thinks California is like all blue, but it's not. It's blue in the larger areas, but that's all it takes is the population. So the rural areas are all Trump supporters, but the big populated areas seem to go blue. And you all know why they go blue. I mean, I hate to say it, it's because they get the free stuff in those areas. So they're basically their vote is bought. That's they vote blue because they feel like they're going to lose out on something like money or some kind of assistance of some kind if they vote red, which I don't think our this party is like that anymore as much as it used to be. Sure, 6, 7, yeah. Well, Geneva, I was just saying, about the new directive that came out on September 27th from the Department of Defense about allowing the authorities, the military, and the local authorities to use lethal force against U.S. citizens who want to do uprising against the government. So we want to talk about something on a lighter note, or we want to keep talking about how crazy the left is and how they cannot stand to lose, and they're preparing. They already know they are, and and even though I'm more confident today than I was 2 weeks ago, I still cannot, you know, stress enough to still go vote. Make sure don't think your vote don't count, because as tight as these races have been for the last like 3 cycles, uh, it don't take much to lose, and it don't take much to win either. Yeah, BB. I mentioned the other night on when I was having a conversation on here somewhere. It's like that book 1984. Uh, you'd never, that was that when that book was written, it seemed like science fiction, but unfortunately, we are living through it right now. You know what, BB? I think we all was. Here's the problem, and see if you guys agree with me. They they started doing the mail-in ballots and all that because they use COVID as an excuse, and then they started saying that even if the ballot comes in out from the mail 2, 3 days later after the voting day, that they're going to count it. And it seems like that's how they won in 2020 by the wee hours. And I mean, it seems silly to have to talk about it because they've tried their hardest to make it not true. But in the wee hours of 4:30 in the morning, when Trump was ahead, when everybody went to bed, and all of a sudden, everybody woke up the next day and we had a different president that we thought we were going to have when we went to bed. Shenanigans was there, and they manipulated the rules. You know what I mean? You can call it cheating, and it is, but they manipulated the rules to get away with it, to where they would also have an argument if challenged in court. So they played a better game than the Republicans did in 2020. But we learned our playbook this time. That's why you can't let your foot off the gas. I mean, we got a better. We don't have as good as a ground game as the left does, but we got a better ground game now than we did in 2020. And you have a lot of people that really these last going on 4 years have opened their eyes to no matter what you think, you cannot be like everybody's like a one policy voter. Like they're going to vote for Kamala just because of the abortion uh, thing, or uh, they're going to vote for Trump just because of immigration or whatever. You can't be a one policy voter. You can't get stuck on that. You got to look at the overall deal of what the entire arsenal of policies that they want to put in your life to either make your life better or worse. And hopefully, people, not, I don't say hopefully, they have, they've seen, you know, when this country's become poor over the last 4 years. I mean, this country's broke. Uh, Most of the taxes they take in now is pretty much paying down the debt, or not paying down the debt, I'm sorry, paying interest on the debt. And it's still clicking off even more. So that's got to be turned around. I mean, it's just, there's no way around it. It's got to stop. I'm sorry, I'm reading chats real quick. Apologize. Yeah. My pronoun is American. Just putting that out there. Yeah, hopefully there maybe we'll get back to the kids learning just reading, writing, and arithmetic, and all these justice warrior teachers can get their asses canned, get them the hell out of the system. Uh, that those type of teachers should have never been allowed to do what they do, but they were allowed because the educational system is woke. So it all starts at the top to allow all the things at the bottom to happen. Hey, Eli, Canada. Yeah, I like. I have a lot of people I follow on YouTube in Canada. Uh, I like the way they still build their cars old school. It's really cool to watch. Reminds me a lot of things when I was growing up. Fair Tax Act. I'm not quite sure what that is 100%, but I don't know that follows on the same lines. I'm all about having a flat tax, uh, so that the if you have a flat tax and there's no loopholes to get out of anything, if whatever that flat tax is, that percentage of the income, whether it be corporate, instead of flat tax for corporate and flat tax for personal income, uh, we would get out of debt as long as they didn't keep piling on uh, social uh, parachutes for people that don't need it. There's a lot of people. Well, like first we got to get this huge population that is living on our dime out of our back pockets. That'll help. So we'll see about that. That's another thing. What California did. I worry about California when they pass a law that is against the law to ask for an ID when you go vote. My God, there's something wrong with that. I think I should make a T-shirt like that. I don't know if I'm the original person to say that, but I know it's how I really feel. So I don't think I've heard anybody else say that. If somebody else has, let me know. I may just get a shirt out there because I'm starting to get merchandise from my other channel, and like I was saying, I wasn't going to charge anybody anything other than the cost of whatever it costs to purchase the shirt and hats, getting the stuff done to them, and then shipping. So that I wasn't going to try to make any money off of it. But I was thinking about making some shirts for this channel. My little character, was something that was done some years back. I never thought it would end up on a YouTube thumbnail, but here we are. Is someone similar but eliminates the IRS. You're right. If having a flat tax, you pretty much could eliminate at least a good portion of the IRS. Uh, but I guess if you have an income tax and your employer takes that flat tax out, there's no way getting around it because you won't have to file taxes and you won't get a refund. So what they take is what they take. So it's probably about right what you're saying there. It's probably the same thing as the fair tax. And I know everybody hates paying taxes. And unfortunately, there was a time when this country was ran without a federal tax, but because they would collect from the states, and the states would collect from uh, commerce and stuff like that. But that's gone, and that'll never return because we have too many social programs. And there's nothing wrong with social programs because some people are in need to where back in like during the depression, uh, before they started that to where you could uh, basically I think you could borrow the money from the government first and then they made it a social program. But before that, if you lost your job or something like that, you start. So I'm not against social programs. I just think it needs to be leaned out severely. How are things in Springfield? They are the same, and in some cases, they are worse. Um, the Haitian population is claiming that this town is aggressively terrorizing them, although you'll find no video of it, and you'll find no individual Haitian saying that. It's coming from the Haitian Outreach Community Center, their representatives saying that. Um, but everybody's taking their word for it as it's true. Uh, but when people were mentioning the other stuff that's going on in this town about the Haitians without video, it is not true. So I don't think you should be able to have your cake and eat it too. So if they don't have no video, they really can't, you know, say that it's happening. Just like they called a lot of the citizens a liar because they didn't have video. Well, I'm calling BS on them too. Yeah, you're right, Linda. There's a lot of things you can't do without an ID. And until Donald Trump became president, uh, needing an ID to vote or something wasn't racist. And how that became racist is beyond me. I I mean, you have to chuckle that they take that to heart as if that's. Let me back up. What we all know what the term racist, the definition of it was before this last 8 or 10 years. Uh, Now it's like, racism comes with power. If you don't have the power, which they're saying, if you're a minority, you can't be racist because you don't have the power. But I don't understand how that's possible because we've had minorities be president. So how much more power can you get? In a lot of the blue states, their major cities, they're completely ran by minorities. So when do they consider they'll ever really have the power if they don't have the power now? So that terminology for being racist, you can be bigoted, but you can't be racist if you don't have the power. But in my opinion, bigoted and racist is the same damn thing. So those kind of things confuse me a little bit. But I'm a simple man, and I just try to figure it out as I go. Oh, I'm losing people. Gosh, kind of crazy. I'm not engaging enough, probably. Did you see the video on some Haitians who admitted the Haitians do? Yes, yes. Actually, I talked to one, and the gentleman said almost a similar same thing as I'd seen that video. But I asked if I could record him, and he wouldn't let me do it. The only thing he said is that uh, he has spoken to some of the people, and that they're realizing that they cannot do that here without it being some kind of an issue. But yeah, uh, that thing where you can go in some areas of Haiti and you can go into their grocery store and buy cat. Um, and there's so many documentaries about that country, about that very thing, about their religion. 70% of their people in their population practices that religion, which uh, we say voodoo, but it's pronounced a different way for them. It's pronounced another way. But you know, here's what I say about. I always say connect the dots. If we have 20,000 people from that country here, and 70% of that country practices that religion, which has something to do with a ritual with the cats, and they prefer chickens, I guess, doing it, but cats is like considered some kind of spiritual delicacy of some kind. And so, if 70% of that country practices that religion, and they come over here, and you're saying now all of a sudden 0% practices that religion and all that it entails about the animal situation and all that, it's a load of crock. Yeah, I I tell you that there's some funny, kind of like anecdotal. I think I said that right. Uh, Kind of things that goes along with this, and there's no real way of proving anything when I say this, but I just say this because this is kind of funny. Um, Across the street from my house, this is how my first video got started. It was there was like a dozen or more of the Haitians living in the house. They were, basically it's a bunkhouse because it's a two-bedroom house, and literally there's so many people living in there that they hung out on the front porch probably because it was so crowded in the house. So they were always out on the front porch talking, and if they get an argument, whatever, everybody could hear it. But we used to have a stray cat problem in my neighborhood. Me and my girlfriend was talking the other day, and we were outside, and we were noticing something. And it's been a little while now, but there's no stray cats. And I think I've seen one since, like, me and her noticed that some weeks back now, but one cat when there used to be like a dozen or so stray cats running around here. So there's no way to prove any of that. It sounds funny to even mention, but it's fact. There used to be a stray cat problem here, and now there's not. And I've heard that from other people in other neighborhoods. They said the same thing. They used to have a bunch of stray cats. Now they don't. So it's kind of crazy. Hey, Rusty. Yeah, did I go somewhere? Are you talking to me, or I don't know if I went anywhere. I mean, they might try to shut me down because I've had a few interactions with the local government here. I'm not going to mention any names, but they brought to my attention how much they dislike my opinion and my form of facts, as they put it. Uh, so, it is what it is. Yeah, Rusty, I tell you why it was 25 seconds and stopped. Um, when I logged on and opened that up, the chat room there was an error, and YouTube said there was an error, but I didn't know how to fix that. So because I don't know much. So what I did is I ended that stream, and then as fast as I could, I went back live again. And I got to figure out how to put up a scheduled thing so it'll be sitting there already ready to go uh, for when I get on live. You'll already be able to log in or something. So I'll figure that out. And tonight's just to see if there's an interest. Like I just said I got a couple people in here from last night's chat room. Um, to see if there's an interest, if people just want to have me go live, like maybe I don't know about once a week. Might be too much for I might be too much for you for once a week. Maybe once every 2 weeks, once a month. Schedule a live deal, and then we can just get on here and have conversation. I always tell people best way to get a hold of me is my email. And if you email me, then if you have like a topic or something that you might be interested in talking about, I'm trying to start to figure. I should put together some notes so that I don't sound like a rambling idiot for one thing, and uh, maybe get the conversation going in a structured way so we can maybe learn something or just hang out and talk or whatever the subject may be. It don't always have to be politics. I say that all the time. This is therapy for me, guys. I started the YouTube channel to get out of a depression that I was in after I'd gotten out of the hospital, and the, so I this is kind of like works for me. Whether I'm talking to two people in here or right now there's 21. I mean, it helps me emotionally, I guess, get stuff off my chest. Bunch of cats, several black cats. We had a few black cats in our neighborhood too, there, BB. Yeah, a lot of people has been telling me that they've been that were subscribed to me and said that they did not unsubscribe to me, that they were they checked one day and they was not subscribed anymore. And I hear a few times where they say they have me on a notification bell thing, and then they'll go check and they want, maybe I put out a video and they didn't see it or something, and they'll notice that their notifications turned off. So I don't know if that's the YouTube police messing with it or what. I don't really know how much they really concern about what I say, because I try to say it in, I don't try to be mean or vindictive or use any crass language to explain anything. I try to keep it as PG as possible. But sometimes they don't like the content, and that's just the way it is because, um, everybody, they thought that I made money off all those videos I made that went viral, but I wasn't monetized. And I got videos now they won't monetize because of the content. So, there's no money to be made to tell the truth, guys. It, but there's no reason why you should want to tell the truth to make money. You should just be telling the truth because it's the right thing to do. And I don't know if I think I mentioned this earlier. I haven't been involved in any local politics at all in any part of my life till now. I've always been the national guy. Just like a lot of people, they worry about the national politics, but they forget about their hometowns. Yeah, Facebook. That Facebook used to be worse. I think Zuckerberg is coming around. Once he got called out for them communicating with him about suggesting which platforms of people should be shut down or restricted access or whatever. YouTube's the same way. Of course, we knew Twitter was there before Elon took it over. So, who'd ever thought that the First Amendment would be under attack like it is? I mean, as long as you ain't supposed to, as long as you're not threatening somebody with physical harm, you're, hollering fire in a crowded theater, you should be able to say what you want. And when they talk about misinformation, unfortunately, uh, First Amendment allows you to lie. Politicians do it every day, but you're not. But when you tell the truth, you're lying, and if you're lying, you're telling the truth. So they got to get over that. We got to get back to where the First Amendment is. Whether you like what they're saying or not, there's then the person should be able to stand right next to them in the middle of town square. And if this person's saying something, you have another person that has the right to counter that and say what they say. So that's how it used to be. And then you took the information and with a intelligent uh, way of looking at it or whatever, you take it with a grain of salt and figure it out and do your own research, and you could be able to tell if they're lying or if you don't like their policy or whatever. You've always had that counter argument with it, but now they try to stifle that. They damn near making it illegal, actually. I mean, look, they're trying to start messing with Elon on uh, pretty much telling him he ain't allowed to say what he wants to say on his own platform. I mean, what kind of crap is that? Shark Tank. Yeah, uh, I watched Shark Tank once in a great while. What's his name? Who's that billionaire? Oh, his name's at the tip of my tongue. The one that kind of went left on us. He don't like Trump at all, and his name's at the tip of my tongue. This is what I say, guys. I don't have notes, so if I was prepared, yeah, there you go. Um, Mark Cuban, that's it. Yeah, he's one of those that has that Trump derangement syndrome for some reason, and it's funny. Uh, if you go pre 2016 and you follow the the history of Trump and the people who are friends with him. I mean, hell, he got an award from the NAACP, but once he decided he was going to run for president, all of a sudden he's racist. All these people that was his friends, they all turned on him because he's not the right party. They all thought he was gonna, if he was ever gonna do it, he was gonna come out as a Democrat because he's from New York. He hung around all the liberals, but he fooled them, and I'm kind of glad. I mean, he figured for the things that he thought this country should be doing, he would not be able to do it through Democrats' eyes and the policy that they are supporting. So, and let's be honest, he's not your typical Republican either. So, which is good. The old Republican Party uh, is just same old establishment, good old boy system. So they're in there, they're mixing it up. Hopefully, and everything goes right in 4 years, we'll have a different type of federal government. Okay, Kevin O'Leary. Yeah, Kevin O'Leary. I know when they started doing all those 34 counts because he signed his checks to his lawyer for a retainer, a monthly retainer, as legal fees. When was that not a correct little heading you put in your bookkeeping query? Because they ain't, and I know this for a fact because I used to have a small business. There ain't much room they give you for description of why you're writing somebody a check. But his lawyer, he paid a retainer fee, whether he uh, paid less or paid more one month or another because there was some extra expenditures that his lawyer paid out or whatever. It's still just legal fees. How they even come to the uh, conclusion they did in that courtroom is ridiculous. I'm sure anybody who followed that a little bit knows what I'm talking about. Uh, and then the other one where they tried to say that he over, uh, shoot, trying to think of the word I mean, appraised, overappraised his property. Sorry, guys, I do that sometimes. So you got a piece of property that's worth everybody besides the New York courts were saying it was worth between 4.5 and $500 million, and then they're trying to say it's worth $18 million. But he didn't break the law. When you fill out, I don't know anybody who's done a business loan. I don't know how many people in here has done that, but even a personal loan, when you're borrowing against a piece of property, you can put in there what you think the property is worth because you're trying to get a loan for a certain amount. The bank does their due diligence and just sends their own appraiser out that's separate from what you think your property's worth, and they'll tell the bank what the property's worth, and then you have to abide by that. So for them to try to say he broke the law, there's no law to be broken what he did. They, it's kind of like you want to take these prosecutors out back and bend them over your knee and spank the crap out of them because they're acting like little kids. And our court system is not much better lately. It's funny how they'll accept all these lower courts' decision when it goes against Trump, but yet our Supreme Court is corrupt. I mean, it's the silliest thing. Yeah, everybody loved Trump. I mean, he's like I think they said he did the most cameos in movies out of everybody that was a non-actor in history. Because you've seen Trump in many movies where he make these little cameos as himself. And then he had The Apprentice. I mean, they talk about ways bank. I think he said he's been bankrupt 5 times, but just those business endeavors didn't work out because he's had like 120 businesses and only 5 or 6 of them went bankrupt. But they were already in distress when he purchased them, and he thought he could. Because I remember the stories, especially the one with the Atlanta um, the casinos. They were already in distress, losing money. He thought he could pull them out of debt just by putting his name on it, and that may have been a little naive. And but that's you when you do a lot of business deals, failure is going to be in that equation. Nobody is 100%. So they always want to bring up the negative, which is so funny because 120 businesses, I think they said he's had, and only 6 of them went belly up. To me, that's a pretty damn good track record. And I like how they inflate the amount of money that his dad gave him to start a business. Uh, that's so funny. Uh, the amount of money that because I remember when it was just like a million. Everybody thought, well, he was handed $1 million to start something. Now I think they got it all the way up to like $125 million. They said his dad gave him, when that's not really true, because I think it was somewhere down there like under 5 million. I think it was 4 million or something. But to act like his dad was rich. What are you going to do? Do you hate people because they get to start out a little bit higher on the financial ring than like me or some of you maybe? Because I'm poor. I'm not rich. I don't have anything. I mean, I got a few things, but I'm not by any means well off. Uh, but I have no animosity to anybody who's rich as long as they got it by doing business. And if they started out uh, with a large amount of money because their parents were well off, well, good on them. Fine. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, we all know a poor person never gave me a job in my life. It's people with money who gave me a job. Now, it's on me for not being any higher up on the financial ring. That's on me. This is America. Uh, there's a lot of obstacles to getting rich, and it takes very few people that make it that far. But it's not because the system didn't allow you to make money. It's a personal choice. You may not think about it. And I'm like, y'all don't even want to hear this. I keep rambling on about to talk about my life. We're getting off the beaten path here. Because did the chat room stop because they're listening to me, or did it stop because there's something wrong with it? I noticed it's stuck or it's not moving. Oh, okay. All right. I appreciate that. It's like I said, I tend to ramble. I also sometimes talk more about my personal life than probably my family was comfortable with. Um, oh, where was it? Oh, I when I was a young man, I did all the wrong things. I was raised by a single mother in a home that was a government home back in the '60s. They had a deal. I grew up. I started life in the projects in Springfield. It was rough because, not to get in too much of the racial thing, but you know, people can say what they want. When there were 2 families that were white in the whole 5 block apartment complex area, and to say that we had an advantage over anybody is not even close to being true. It was rough. I remember them setting, we had a screen door on the front of our apartment, and I was like 5 years old, and they come up and set the mesh screen on the screen door. They come up and set it on fire, and so they burnt the front of our screen door up just because they were bored. I guess I don't know. I remember many times riding my tricycle, and next thing I know, I get the crap knocked off out of me and get knocked off my trike, and they take it and throw it across the parking lot. So then we got into, they offered a uh, low income families, single mothers, government homes for, I think the house was $13,000, a little bit over, I think it was, and they based the house payment on her whatever her income was. So I think her original house payment was like $62, but the whole neighborhood was those government homes. So we went from being in apartments to just being in a 3 bedroom concrete slab house, prefab, basically. So saying that, when you're young, I didn't think I was gonna make it out of high school. I didn't think I was gonna make it to be an adult. So you don't think how to get rich. You just think about surviving when you're in that atmosphere and you're that young. But saying that, as time went on, being young and dumb, but I don't regret it because I got a great daughter out of it. I had a child at 17, so I quit school and went to work, and I worked 2 jobs because the person I was with had already had children from a previous. I married a older woman, so to get that out of the way. So I was just trying to pay the bills. You never think about getting ahead, other than just getting by. So I blame myself for not having the maturity back then to think about the next step. You know what I'm saying? The next step to get to that next level of income uh, level to where you can start feeling comfortable. Because I didn't see an opportunity of that in my mind. Uh, I'm sure they were there. I just, how you say you can't see the forest through the trees. All right, BB, glad you stopped by. It's a lot of y'all probably got something better to do on a Friday night. I just figured Friday seemed like a night to do this. If I do this going further, I was going to ask suggestions. I already had one suggestion. Somebody said don't start it at 7, start it at 6:30, and I'm not quite sure, if that makes a big difference. I think it might, but maybe another day of the week or something might even be better. Like I'm telling my story, and I'm sure my story is nothing special. You know what I mean? My story is the same for a lot of people, but you know, getting back to that, I don't begrudge people who are well off, and I never have. Even when I was dirt poor, um, because my mom had such a hard time raising. I have 2 brothers, so my mom raised us 3 by herself, and that's back before they made the men pay child support through court. When they finally did uh, get to that point to where they made the fathers start paying child support, uh, my mom got $25 a week for the 3 of us. So I started working when I was 12. And then I worked for a guy around the corner who actually taught me how to work on cars. That's what I did for him. And and by the age of, I started working in a junkyard at 14, and by the age of 15, my mother never had to pay for another thing for me. I paid for my own school clothes. I paid, shoes, whatever. I paid for everything. She didn't have to pay another dime to raise me. And, yeah, a lot of people I grew up with, they always say pretty much that same thing. They think I've accomplished a whole lot considering where we all came from. Because a lot of my friends are either dead or still in prison. Some of them will never get out of prison, and of course, some of them that are dead, they're dead. And I'm only 59, and I have a lot of people that I grew up with that are no longer with us at such a young age. Um, but like I said, I had a child at 17, so I went to work full time. Uh, During the day, I worked at a body shop, and at night, I helped put out the local newspaper. I worked at the local Springfield News and Sun at night, and then during the day, I worked at a body shop, and I did that for years. And then even when I started working on trucks and trailers, I got a job. I still kept two jobs. I still worked at the Springfield News and Sun for a long time, putting the paper out, and then I would work. That was a third shift job, and then I'd work second shift at the JB Hunt Trucking Company, where I started washing trucks and trailers because I didn't know how to work on a truck and trailer. I was a body guy, so I got offered that job, and it paid more than what I was making at the body shop. So you got to do what you got to do to pay the bills because I was raising. I have four children, and so you know you got to do what you do, and so I did that, and for years, I think I worked two jobs 10 years straight. But like I said, you work these jobs and you just make enough to pay the bills. And when you're done working, you're tired. You don't think about trying to be an entrepreneur or anything like that. You just think about the kind of sounds dumb, but like the next tool I need to buy to make my job easier for me to do. You know what I mean? So you stay in debt for tools when you become a career mechanic for a long time. So by the time you get done doing all that and paying the bills and then the kids, they want to, I wanted my kids to have everything I did not. So if there was a class trip coming up, uh, maybe I had some extra car parts that I had sitting in the garage that I didn't need. And I would sell the car parts if I didn't have the money on hand to make the money because I never wanted them not to have it. My kids grew up. Uh, Really, they didn't want for nothing. They was never hungry. They was never without good clothes. And they were always able to do school functions without ever have to be embarrassed because they didn't have the money. Because I go back to my pride. I was eligible for free lunches, uh, like in elementary school. I didn't want to accept a free lunch, so I took the job in the cafeteria. So I cleaned the cafeteria for my lunch, so I wouldn't have to say I took a free lunch from the government. So that's kind of one of the weird things that pops in my head, I guess. So, you know, so I'm not rich and it's my own fault, but I don't begrudge people who are. And we shouldn't begrudge Trump for starting out life better than me or anybody else. Don't stop him from being a good president. And it doesn't mean he seems like he gets the working man. It's kind of weird. He's like the richest regular guy I mean, his homes are extravagant, but if you're sitting there talking to him or whatever, uh, you wouldn't even think about all that. You just think you're talking to somebody that's on your level and gets it where you're coming from. And that's kind of a unique thing to be able to do for him being so rich. So I find it to be quite impressive, to be honest with you. Uh, Thanks, Janice. Oh, I didn't see that. Good night, Rosie. So, that's on that subject. That's why I say I don't blame nobody. Nobody should blame anybody for if they're not further up on the financial ladder. Uh, Sometimes it's out of your control. And I give you an example. Me, I got out of the game working before I was ready. I had problems happen to me that I couldn't work no more, and I wasn't ready to quit. I'd been working 42 years, and you know, and that's already at the age of 56. And I was ready. I was going to go all the way to retirement, and I was working for FedEx at the time. I was a manager for their maintenance department. Uh, I had 27 mechanics in my shop, and we were responsible for. See what I remember last when I was working there. I think before I had to quit, it's like 1,054 pieces of equipment, trucks, trailers, and what they call converters between the two little trailers. And so I was responsible for all that. And but it was very hard for me not to be able to work anymore. Most people say, "Oh, I can't wait till I don't have to work anymore." Uh, yeah, you say that if you're ready to quit. When you're not ready to quit, it's a very, very uncomfortable thing to go through. Hi, Shannon. We're doing good. Just hanging out. It's my first live on this channel is a structured, scheduled deal. 11 children. Whew. Yeah, Rosie, that's a lot. I can't imagine my mom trying to raise 11 kids on her own. I can't. But when I was growing up, hell, uh, my mom is bless her heart. She worked two jobs. She worked at a factory during the day for years, and then she got a job in a department store. But she'd always work uh, bars on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. My mother worked as a barmaid, and of course, when you work as a barmaid, all your interactions with men are at bars. So just about everybody that she tried to have a relationship with, uh, pretty much alcoholics. And one of them was severely abusive. Comes to mind. He was he's a huge piece of shit. And I remember him getting drunk and uh, shooting the house up with his gun. And we come in the house, and he was sitting in a chair, and the chair was like along this wall, and down to your right was the hallway that went to all of our bedrooms in this little house. So he told my brother and me that we needed. My mom had a phone in her bedroom, so he told us to go to the bedroom and call your mother and tell her to get her stupid ass home. He needed to talk to her. So when we went down the hallway, we heard two shots ring out, and he shot over our heads down the hallway. Kind of a traumatic thing to go through when you're 10 years old. So it's kind of one of those weird things I just remember growing up. Some of the things I had to deal with. That same guy, uh, one time he was beating the crap out of my mom, and I come in the house, and he ripped the phone off the wall and was getting ready to hit her in the head with the phone. And I picked up a back in the day. You remember the Pepsi bottles, the glass bottles, the 16 ounce. So I picked up the bottle, and I was going after him to hit him with it, and he snatched me up by the throat. But he stopped hitting my mom, so that was good. Then my mom hit him to get him to let go of me. So but my mom, bless her heart, she just had bad luck with men because my dad was not a very good man either. So they split up because he was abusive. So do you think you would try to get out of that cycle but so many people do the same thing. They seem like they're attracted to the same type of person, and I, today I don't know, things may be a little different. Back then, it was just a little rough. Yeah, thanks, Shannon. Yeah, yeah, I'm trying to get beyond that whole. I mean, I'm still adding to that. There's stuff going on with that. Um, it can't all be about just the little Haitian problem in Springfield. So I figured I'd see if I'm interesting enough or engaging enough that people would like to keep coming back and having conversations with me, or at least watch some of my videos when I make a video about something. And I'm going to try to expand on different things. That's why I joined that other YouTube channel to do those live podcasts on Wednesday afternoons. It's called The Asshole's Opinion. So we have a good time doing that. But I still, I started this channel to get away from my car channel. Plus, this has become a little therapy for me because I guarantee if we was all in the same room, I would not be able to say all this stuff to you guys in front of you because I'd be too nervous to mention, you know, my life stories. My life stories really ain't that interesting. You know, there's a lot of people I grew up with went through the same thing or worse. So I don't know if you guys ever experienced stuff like that growing up. Yeah. Uh, See, now I grew up super poor, but my children will tell you they grew up middle class. Uh, I always had nice houses because I flipped. I did everything I could to try to make an extra dollar that I knew in my small brain. What am I capable of doing to make an extra dollar? So I bought my first. My mom was always a big proponent. You know, your goal is to buy a house. Raise your children right, and don't don't bring any stress on anybody else for whatever your personal issues are. And don't break the laws as much as possible. Some of us do a fine line on some things back in the day. But anyways, so my kids grew up middle class. They can tell you that. They always had decent homes, good clothes. They all got a car to drive when they turned 16. Bought my own cars when I was growing up. Yeah, Shannon. Yeah. See, yeah, my girlfriend ended up in foster care, so I know how horrific that is. I mean, you can get lucky and end up with good foster parents, but let's be honest, a lot of the foster parents in the system, they're only in it for the paycheck, so they really don't uh, take care of the children like they should. Because you can offer them a child a place to sleep and clothes, but you got to be able to offer them love too. You know, without that proponent of it, you you're just basically living in an orphanage of a house of just one or two or three kids instead of being in a big institution. So, but yeah, the foster care system I think needs a lot of improvement. Although I know I one of my mechanics that used to work for me, he was a foster kid or foster parent, and he adopted every child that he fostered. Which after he adopted the fifth one, I asked him if he's ever going to stop, and he's like, "Not as long as me and my wife have something to give." So he's a good man. His wife's good. They're good people. So there are good foster parents out there. Yeah, Rusty. Income don't determine whether somebody's going to be abusive towards you or not. I understand that. Um, Now, a lot of people, the mental abuse. I mean, you know, what do you consider mental abuse? Because uh, their definition of mental abuse today is kind of weak. When you're, there's, I can think back to what really serious mental abuse means. And the physical abuse, there's no getting around that. Physical abuse is physical abuse. Thanks, Shannon. I appreciate that. Yeah, I tell you, you're right. Here's the thing: when I was growing up, if I did something wrong, my mom gave every parent in the neighborhood permission to whoop my ass and drag me home so they could tell to her what I did wrong, and then she'll whoop my ass. So yeah, back in the day, uh, you respected the elders. If not, uh, there was a consequence to it. Yeah, they're in it for the money. The foster. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Most, and I don't know most. I don't have a gauge on it, but a lot of them are in there. That's what they're doing it for is the money. So they don't. I mean, they're probably halfway decent people. They're willing to take care of a child that needs a place to sleep and food, but you got to be able to love them, and that's hard to do when it's a stranger. It's a child that you don't know. But you got to, if you're doing it for the right reasons, you, it comes with it. So I'd have a hard time being a foster parent because I would get too attached, and then if they, for whatever reason, their parents got custody back again of them, it would probably break my heart to have to let them go like that. So, but that's the whole idea of the foster system. It's supposed to be temporary. Yeah, Shannon, you're right. And the whole country, but not just, well, I'd say the whole country, the whole world. What is it with the abusing these children? What mentally sick individuals get some kind of kick out of abusing children? And you know what I mean by abusing too. I can't really say on YouTube what I'm talking about, but I know y'all know what I mean. I mean, I don't know what I'd do if I caught somebody doing something like that. I honestly, I'm a pretty controlled individual, and I don't know if I could stay under control. I really don't. And then who goes to prison? They'll get some kind of trouble, but it won't be nothing like what'll happen with the physical abuse I give them at that point. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a hard thing to think about. Yeah, Ronnie, I have had to get many of my own switches for my mother. That's the truth. Yeah, my mom. Y'all remember the Hot Wheels race tracks, the long orange plastic tracks with the little hard tabs where you put the tracks together and the Hot Wheels run down them? You, at a certain age, you would never find any of that in my house, my mom's house, because that was my mom's go-to, was grabbing one of those Hot Wheel uh, track strips and whoop our ass with it. And depending on whether it was she was whooping us from the bottom of it or the top of it, depending on how wide the welt was. And then if she left the little plastic thing in there, it hit you until it swung out of the strip. And and I I don't really. I mean, that's probably a certain amount of child abuse, but my mom only did it because she was taught that way to, you know, disciplining children with a ass beating. And she's raising three boys, single mother who's tired, uh, from working two jobs. So you know, and I can tell you this: I never got an ass beating I didn't deserve. Ain't no doubt about it. And I try, and I was actually considered the good son because I put less emotional stress on my mother than my other two brothers did. They were kind of mischief, and everybody thought I was the oldest one uh, in the family, and I was not, just because of the way I conducted myself compared to my two brothers. It's kind of funny thinking back on it. Yeah, I tell you, my mom, whew, she was a mean one. Um, you did not want to make her mad. When she lost her temper, all bets are off. You could expect anything to happen, but my brothers, they challenged her a lot. I never, I can say this with 150% true honesty, I never talked back to my mother, and I never tried to swing on my mom. I didn't. Now my brothers, different story. 911. Yeah, well, back in the day when I was growing up, because it was in the 70s, you'd waste your time calling the cops. They'd have her side in a heartbeat. Back then it was, like I said, she gave the neighborhood parents permission to whoop us. So, and everybody has a different uh, theory on how much force to use when they're spanking you. Some people don't know their own strength. Some of them give it just as much as, not as much as the, they're lighter than they probably could be. But then you have other people that are just willing to well on you. So you had to watch what you were doing. You didn't want to make a mistake. Hi John, how you doing, bro? But yeah, I mean, these are silly little grown up stories, guys. You know, I told myself I would just get on here and talk about whatever, personal or not, politics, family. Like today when I first started, I was telling her we lost a dog today. Uh, we had to take her to get her cremated. Yeah, I think just about anybody who's grew up anywhere where there's a tree, they had to use they know what a switch is. But like I don't know, like I mentioned, I don't know if nobody's mentioned it or not. If you remember the old Hot Wheels racetracks, the yellow plastic ones, that was my mom's favorite go to. But I've been whooped with a flat end of a spatula. I remember one time my mom spanked me real hard with the flat end of a butcher knife because that's all she had available in her hand. So, but she had a temper. It's like if the bed wasn't made right, she would pull it all apart and flip the mattress over into the floor and tell you to do it right. And it's I mean, and my mom was a good person. As an adult, I can look back and understand the stress that she was under all the time, and she just couldn't accept uh, us not doing what we're supposed to be doing when she told us to do it. Uh, but I turned out okay. I'm here, and I think today's children do, and I don't think that they should go back to how I was raised and disciplined, but I think they went too far the other direction. Yeah, you're right. Back in the day, mothers didn't play, and that's like going to the grocery store. Oh my! If I had ever acted up in a grocery store when my mom's trying to shop, uh-uh, that was bad. Because back then, if you got your ass beat in the middle of the grocery store, the other parents would be like, "Yeah, that kid deserved it." Today, they want to call the law on you. But back in the day, it'd be like, "Yep, acting like a little tyrant. So, is anybody in the chat room, do they have the same uh, undocumented newcomer issue as we do? I'm finding more and more people I talk to that that's becoming a standard conversation around the country, and it's getting harsh. It's getting bad. You know, we never threw no tantrums as kids. For one thing, my mom wouldn't put up with it. Yeah, you know, Ronnie, it's and I don't want to sound unsympathetic because if I was in these people's shoes, I would probably do the same thing. I would take advantage of you know, whatever uh, good thing in life that I could get. If that meant coming to another country that's considered to be one of the best countries in the world, I'd probably do it too. But it's up to our government to control, and unfortunately, that's not out of control. They are doing exactly what they intended on doing. It's been the plan for a long time. They have implemented that plan, and they implemented it with a president that did not care when it comes to history, will end up being the worst president in history because the people that wanted him in office used him for a scapegoat. You all know this, right? None of this stuff is his original decision. This was stuff that he's been told to do. And I wholeheartedly believe that because he's just the head of, even not even the real head, he's just the figurehead of a machine. Lubbock, Texas. You know, I'd like to go to Texas because there's some parts of the country I would like to. I always want to like places I want to look for. I would like to retire out of Ohio. Uh, I mean, I'm already retired, but I mean like move south or west somewhere to get into. I'm looking for climate that's not winter. You know, in the wintertime, my old bones trying to get outside and do stuff. It's just harsh for me anymore. But Texas, my girlfriend lived in Texas for a few years and she loved it. She lived southwest from Houston, Texas, outside of Houston. Can't remember the name of the town right now, but she liked it. She talked about we. She wouldn't mind moving back to Texas. Yeah, right. That's why I'm just reading the rest of your message. Yeah, I don't fault them. I fault the government. It's the government that's doing this. Um, but then, you know, now that we're here, uh, it's now that they're here, even though you don't blame them for coming here, we're going to have to blame them for fighting to get them out of here because they're going to fight. You know, when you got a good thing going, you're going to do whatever you got to do to keep it going. Am I wrong? Yep. You know what I mean? Yeah, Rusty, that's not the first time I've heard that. I'm going to identify as a Haitian. I agree with you. They they're loving life here. You know, even the ones that are not working. I mean, they don't got nothing to worry about. You know, even though a lot of them living in bunkhouses, they that's better than what they had before. That's sad to say when you got 12, 15 people living in a 2-bedroom house, and it's the best conditions they've ever lived in. I mean, you got to feel for them on that. But they need to go and take care. They need to fix their country. And I don't even think it's a bad thing to say, we might help them, move that process along. I mean, we've been dumping money, whether it be private, non-government organizations or government. We've been dumping money into that little country for decades, and they can't be no better off than they are now. I mean, they haven't improved. They've not improved any. I mean, they have some of the, I don't know what, somebody in this chat may know better than me why it is they can't get their act together in their own country. I mean, because they can't keep an organized government for some reason. And, it's like here, we may have a tyrannical government happening here real soon. You think I'm going to pack up and try to become a refugee in Europe? No. I'm going to stand my ground here. You know what I mean? Because to me, where you're born is the place you ought to fix if it's broken. Yeah. So you're Lubbock, Texas. There's a lot of country music singers come out of Lubbock, don't they? Seems like that's a hot spot for country music as far as maybe not going there to make it in country music, but as far as people being raised up around there, being uh, famous in country music. What's up, Fish? Sorry, I'm just now start. I've been rambling on telling my stories. I haven't been reading the chat as fast as I should. Detroit. Now I've been to Detroit. I've been to 8 Mile. Uh, I I think we was at a place. A buddies of mine were playing. Uh, I think it's called the Harp or the Harpo. Help me out there, uh, Rusty from Detroit. Do you know what I'm talking about? The It was like an old theater from the 40s. It had a lot of really Art Deco kind of fixtures in there. It was really cool. But they turned it. It was an old movie theater, and they turned it into like a concert hall. I wanted to say it's called the Harp something, but I can't remember. Harpo's, yeah, okay. So I was right. It was Harpo's. Yeah, let me tell you something about that. We went there. I've been to Detroit a few times. First time I seen Kid Rock was in Detroit, but back in the day, I used to be a drinker. Believe it or not, I know you probably can tell that by looking at me. I don't hardly do anything anymore. But there's a liquor store like almost across the street from Harpo's, and you probably know what I'm talking about, Rusty. I've never seen so much broken glass on the sidewalk and in the curbs of the street that we parked our vehicle across the street, down actually a couple blocks down behind all the buildings, because there was so much broken glass there in front of Harpo's and that liquor store. I was afraid to get a flat. We didn't want a flat in Detroit, Michigan, and have to deal with that. So, but we went in there and we were buying alcohol for the after party after my friends got done playing, and they kept wanting to hand us solo cups, and they were behind bulletproof glass, and they had this spin thing that turned it that brings us, when they get it outside the bulletproof glass. They kept wanting to give us these solo cups. And I said, we don't need them. We don't, because it was for later on at the hotel where we were going to have a hangout. And I said, why do you keep trying to give me solo cups? So you're not break glass. You're not break glass. I said, we're not drinking out here, dude, because he couldn't hardly speak English. And But anyways, that was a funny thing. Uh, but we went down 8 Mile too because we just said we had to. That's an interesting part of town. And you think these things are close for anybody that's listened to me talk that's not been there. It's like a couple exit down the highway from one another. But once you get in there, it's definitely inner city. But it was a good experience. I had a good time. I was several. Let's see, live several to Mall and then drive 80K trucks. Crestwell, shopping. Okay, food, payroll card. Yeah, it's amazing. It is astonishing how much money they have. To we're struggling. Like I said, I'm on a budget. I'm on disability, and all the bills are going up, but my income's not. So for them to roll in here and they can go to the grocery store and roll out of there with three grocery carts full of food, and the cashiers, they always want to comment about how much they've seen on their receipt was left on their card. They call it the magic card because every month it rejuvenates. And I walk out of there with four plastic bags of food, and it cost me $130. And they're walking out of there with three grocery carts, and then they still got cash and everything left on the cards that they use. And that's just one person using one card. That's not like a group of people going in there and buying for the house. That's one person, one card. It is amazing. I wouldn't like it in Europe, probably not. But I'm just using that as a like I wouldn't run skirt tail to another country because my country ain't as good as it should be. I would stay and fight, and I probably wouldn't live. They put this old crippled dude on the front line so he can take cover. Everybody can take cover behind him. But you know what I mean. I would do my part to make my country better instead of uh, going somewhere else and taking all these handouts. Because that them filling the jobs things, that's such a cover if I ever heard one. That is just such bull crap. Because I know a few people that's been looking for jobs, and they work in fast food restaurants, and fast food restaurant was never meant for you to raise a family on. It was meant for a startup job. You get your feet wet as a teenager. You get in there, you get some experience under you. You work, a fast food restaurant for a couple of years. You get out of high school. You may even still doing it, maybe if you're going through college or whatever. And then you go on to the next step. And if you don't even go to college, let's say you go a factory job, used to pay a lot more than a fast food restaurant. So, you would go to the factory job and make a lot of money. And, because you got the experience through but now people are in their 40s and 50s working in a fast food restaurant. And then everybody claims that's why all the minimum wage had to go up to have what they call it. Uh, it needed a good living wage to raise a family. You're not supposed to be working at Wendy's or McDonald's and trying to raise a family. That's good if it's a secondary income, like if you got a husband and they're working. But I understand single mothers too. That's their job. But even them, they need to move on to a factory job to make the more money. That's how it used to be. Now these factory jobs, especially with the influx of all the Haitians, and well, not just Haitians, but all the undocumented newcomers, they're making the minimum wage, not what they considered a minimum living wage, because all these restaurants now pay these people higher than minimum wage. The people working through the temp services at these factories, they're making barely above minimum wage. So, and a regular person, why would you go and make $10 an hour in a hot, sweaty factory when you can make almost $15 an hour at a fast food restaurant now, and then that's why it costs two people 25-30 to go to a fast food restaurant to eat when it used to be like 10-12 bucks. Yeah, I tell you, when the first time I watched Kid Rock, uh, Josie was still alive, and then I seen him two times after that, and then the last time I seen him was right after Hank Williams Jr. gave him that steel guitar, because Kid Rock likes to take a portion of his concerts and like he likes to play each instrument, the drums, the guitars, and the piano, whatever. He likes to play a little bit of each instrument, and when he's doing a song as part of his show. And that was the last time I seen him was right after Hank Williams Jr. gave him that steel guitar. But I've had a good time at it. Kid Rock puts on a hell of a show. Yeah, the government did invite them here, um, but that's the thing. When we say government, uh, used to when you say government, you meant government as a whole. Now the government is fractured into two separate governments, and they occupy the same space, but they have two completely different philosophies on how to govern. So the left side government invited them here, and I'm sure some of the right, because we have a lot of rhinos. But those are the people that need to be voted out. Everybody, this country is so engaged in politics. Do y'all remember the day when you just politics was on cruise control? You know, you liked some, you didn't like some, but it was never detrimental to you. Like our government ain't really been detrimental to us since Carter, his 4 years back in the late 70s. But right now it's detrimental. U.S. didn't populate enough. You know why the U.S. didn't populate enough? It's because they started telling these young ones that it's your duty to get an abortion if you get pregnant because you're not living life good enough if you just end up being a wife or a mother, period. That you're losing out on life if you become a mother. Like there's something wrong with being a mother. So that's why our population has dropped. And then people disagree with me on that, let me know because I mean, when you make it a hip thing to get an abortion, I mean, come on, are you serious? I mean, and I'm not got 2 cents in the game on that. Everybody's got personal choice. So if I got to say I border on pro-choice or whatever, but they need if they're going to have it, they need to go back to what the Clintons even said back in the day: rare but legal. They threw that rare away. Now it's like a part of society. It's like a hip thing. You see them bragging, "Oh, I'm on my fifth abortion." Yeah, and I've even seen them say, "I wish I could get an abortion." Well, dummy, it's easy to get pregnant. So if that's your goal in life, then it's not hard for you to obtain. Morons. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up on the chat room here, guys. Yeah, Stephanie, I'm not claiming it's easy. I really ain't. Uh, That's why I say I don't begrudge somebody that felt like that was something they needed to do, and it's splitting up from somebody is a hard thing to do, especially if you have children with them. And you know, I had my kid at a very young age, and you know, I should have thought things through when I was that young. But you know, I dealt with it. I wouldn't change the fact that, I mean, she's a wonderful person. I'm glad she's here. Yeah, Rusty, I could tell you a funny story about a Kid Rock concert I went to that happened in the crowd. I was in, you know, standing part of the floor. I was right up close, really close to the stage. But some of the stuff that happened in the crowd is not for this chat room. Oh my God, it was wild. Let's see. Yeah, yeah, Ronnie. It's see, we need to quit feeling bad about it and do something about it. Yeah, Eli. You know, Canada. I really enjoy the people from Canada. I can't say much about your government because we can't say much about ours. But the people, I mean, I, especially in this YouTube world, in the car world, some of the, I'm telling you, the people in Canada, I just quite enjoy a whole lot. Yeah, Katie, you know, it's funny about, you know, saying part Mexican or whatever. The problem anymore is it's not Mexicans, it's everybody else. You know what I mean? We had a pretty decent back and forth uh, under control with whatever. But Mexico, if they could get rid of their drug cartels, you know, since a lot of factories go to Mexico, there's work in Mexico. So, you know, the problem is people from the rest of the world coming through the southern border. And seeing Trump had that under control with the Mexican government to do the remain in Mexico policy. And that kind of stifled a lot of people coming up through the southern border because once they realized that they didn't just have an open door they could walk through, they kind of like changed their minds a little bit because you know the rule is if you're seeking asylum, you're supposed to seek asylum to the first country you come to outside of yours. They walk through two or three countries to get here, you know, and that's financed. There's nobody walking all the way from Venezuela up through there because ain't none of them starving. Now that last bit going through Mexico, they're getting where they try to come through the southern border is a treacherous trip, but the whole trip before that is not. So they're all fed. They've been taken care of all the way up through that whole little when they do the caravans. So it is a predetermined schedule finance thing, and we all know or can speculate where the financing's come from. It's coming from several places, not just one. You know, and that's just my opinion. I mean, I don't have a document that says that or anything, but you know, you, you're on this earth long enough and you pay attention to things, you start seeing things, and you know something's up. Yeah, you know that movie there, Thomas Leave the World Behind. You know that was uh, produced by Obama, right? He was like a what is it they call it, where he kind of like gave his I'm trying to think of the right word, consultant. He was a producer and a consultant of that because they pretty much went by a playbook that he would know about because he was president of what a foreign country would do to get into America without firing the first shot. Because see, everybody thinks it's going to be like if we ever get into a world war, it's all going to be like they're going to parachute in and we're going to fight them that way. That's not how the modern day, especially when you're dealing with us, the superpower, they like to walk underneath the wires per se and pretty much uh, put things in place through the back door and catch you off guard. And then the next thing you know, uh, there's people, and it ain't everybody thinks it's China, but it's not all going to be China. It's going to be a group of people. They all want to knock you off your soapbox. You know how it is. Everybody like supports you, supports you, supports you till you get to the top, and then you're like, oh, screw him. He ain't nobody. And they want to start downgrading you, knock you off your soapbox. Well, they've been wanting to do that to America for a very, very long time. Yeah, and George Soros and now his son. You thought maybe when he got so old or where he passed away, it'd be done and over with, but now his son's just as bad, if not worse than he is. I like Mexican food there, Ronnie. That's what I'm talking about, Rusty. The caravans. They were fed, they had clothes, they had phones, they rode on buses, they rode on trains. You're right, they did photo ops exactly uh, to um, put together this story of the struggle to make it to the promised land when it was all financed. I mean, they got to get somebody brought them together. What it I can't remember what the largest one was, but let's say the one that was 10,000 people. How do you put 10,000 people together in one spot and get them traveling in the same direction and they're all fed and if they need clothes and you know what I mean? None of them look like they went weeks without a bath or anything, or like they're wearing the same clothes that they was when they started the trip. So yeah, so it's but the people that are behind this truly think we're stupid, or they think we're too weak to do anything about it, and that's almost true there. And I don't necessarily mean like too weak, like we wouldn't do something, but we don't think about it because we can't fathom somebody doing that because we're such a certain amount of superpower that somebody would do that to us or even take the chance to do that to us. Well, guess what? They're doing it. What I missed, Katie, that is crazy. I know this sounds rude, but someone needs to keep to herself. What do you mean? Did I miss something there? Yeah, not only Obama, but also Hillary Clinton was also a Zelensky fan. Sal Alinsky, sorry. Because they had they did those experiments back in the day when the Clintons were in college, to where they would bum rush restaurants, order food, and then claim that because they were hungry, they had the right to eat there for free, and then they would roll out as a group. I don't know if you remember that or not, but that's been in a few stories about the Clintons' life. Yeah, yeah, Ronnie, that's what I was just saying. Yeah, see, I don't read fast enough, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah, BlackRock. Yeah, BlackRock's just one of a few. Uh, Believe it or not, I have a house out in the county that I owned years ago. I've kept. I've all family members in it. I've never made no money on it or nothing. Uh, I'm one of those people. If you got family that needs a place to stay and you got it, and and they pretty much uh, keep help me keep paying the mortgage on it. I never asked for anything above that. but they had a place to stay. Like right now, uh, for those who know my other channel, my car channel, the garage that I do all my filming at is the garage at my house out in the county, and my granddaughter lives in it. One of my grandchildren live in the house. And get back what I was originally saying is, I had I kept getting mailers from BlackRock they wanted to purchase that house, sight unseen. They they just said that they was gonna, let's see, what was it, $72,000. Uh, Although I wouldn't take that, but they know what I owe on you, because it's public records what you owe on the property, and so they figured they was going to offer me an exuberant amount of money over what I owe on the property, and I would take it. But that was kind of funny, out of the blue, that BlackRock started sending me these mailers to my house. Yeah, see, the thing is these places that are buying up all this property, and we'll go right along with the local temp services that buys all the properties and then rents out to all the Haitians. Uh, they do that, and then they have a monopoly over the real estate. And then I was just saying, I think it was yesterday's chat. Uh, this is not a rich area where I'm at, and the average rent 4 years ago, less than 4 years ago, was between 550 and 650 a month for a 2-bedroom house or something. And now